everyone, this is Dr. Mommy coming to you again with another video. Today's video is going to be about teenagers and finances. As a lot of you know, I have 3 teenagers, and what better time to start talking to them? Actually, this is not a start. We are actually in the swing of things because I've been preaching the finance, budgeting, save your money type topics to them probably for about 3 or 4 years. So they are well into the swing of things with learning about finances and budgeting. So what I did decide to do is I decided to go around. I was like, okay, I've been doing this for a while now. Let me go around to them and see what is the first thing that sticks out to them, or the first topic that comes to mind when asked about finances and budgeting as it relates to, what they either overheard me say, or what I've talked directly to them about, just, anything in general as it related to finances and how they need to deal with their finances. So basically I have some notes jotted down here on my little handy dandy notebook. You guys know I love to keep my notebook so that I can make sure that I cover everything and don't forget anything while talking. So I went around to them, and some of the things that they came up with is, number 1, don't get into debt. That was so funny because they know I am always preaching that. It's like, okay, whatever you're going to do with your life as it relates to going to college, if you choose to do that, or if you just choose to go and get a trade, get a certification, or whatever the case may be, do not get into debt. Okay, so that was the main thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run down through the list of things that they did say, and then we can go back and chit-chat about each one as it relates to that topic. The second one was start a budget. I thought that was pretty impressive for teenagers. Budgeting and teenagers, that really, kind of don't go hand in hand. They just want to spend, spend, spend. But I thought that was pretty cool. The third thing is do not get a credit card. I know that's going to be another controversial topic, but that's what I'm teaching my children. Do not get a credit card. I haven't had a credit card, haven't touched one in 7 years. Therefore, I know that you can live without a credit card. The fourth thing is, if you can't afford it with cash, don't buy it. I thought that was another impressive one. Number 5, save 20% of your income. So those were some of the things that they thought that were very important, that kind of stuck out to them, that, they kind of have kept with them over this journey of me teaching them, and just them watching me, actually do my finances and live my finances. See, there's a difference when you want, as they say, people talk a good game, but don't walk that game. Yeah, they've seen me do it and talk about it. So now let's go back up to topic number 1, which is don't get in debt. As it relates to getting in debt in teenagers, what I'm meaning by that is I have 2 of my 3 teenagers have jobs. So therefore they are starting to save their money, budget it, spend some, give some, whatever they want to do with it. They are starting to have jobs and have paychecks so that they can understand how money actually works. So the first thing I tell them is, do not get in debt. And what I mean by that is, if you see an item and you want to purchase it, do not try and go, and yes, they are giving teenagers credit cards nowadays. Do not go and try to apply for some store credit card in the mall and have this thought pattern of, I got a little part-time job now, so I can get a credit card and I can go and buy those shoes or buy that handbag, and then I can go pay it off later. No, do not get in debt means don't get a credit card where you will have to go and pay back money to a bank. That is debt. Okay, so basically I'm teaching them, save up your money And once you've saved up enough, then you can go and buy that item. I'll give you a prime example. My son is working now, and he's into video games and that kind of thing, and there are a couple of items here or there that he's wanted to purchase. And I told him, I said, okay, well, you may have made $80 this week, or you may have made $70 this week, and that item you want costs $80. Okay, what do you do with that? You cannot buy that item until you made $80. So therefore, you will set aside or save the $70. Then you'll work a little bit more. Then you'll make another paycheck. And then you'll have enough to buy that $80 item in cash. So that's kind of what I'm teaching them as it relates to finances and budgeting and not getting into debt. The second thing was start a budget. That was one of the other items that they came up with. Basically, with starting a budget, what I am teaching them is that they can do 3 things with their money. They can save some, they can give some away, and they can spend some. So what I have told them is to at least give 20%, save 20%, and the rest you can spend. Now, a lot of times they don't spend all their money, but they do have that leeway of knowing that, hey, I have 60% of my money that I can still spend. So they're pretty good with both of my teenagers that are working. They are not like really big spenders. They'll see a thing here or there that they may want, and they'll go purchase it. But I always tell them that you have to set aside 20% of your paycheck into your savings account. And they do that faithfully whenever they get paid. So the third thing, which we kind of hit on with the first topic of do not get into debt, that one is about do not get credit cards. There are so many people that think that we have to live off of credit cards. Now, as it relates to my teenagers, I want to set that, I want to, kind of give them that mindset of you do not have to get a credit card to live. And I also want to teach them to go into adulthood operating in that fashion. So basically, we're gonna only operate with cash, and that's the way I'm kind of teaching them. Every now and again, they'll do things with their debit cards, but I would prefer for them to just operate with cash so that they won't even start to, kind of get used to that plastic, although it's a debit card, but, and then have that somewhat mentality of easing into not purchasing, but applying for a credit card and getting one. So we are dealing strictly with cash. Now, when we're dealing with cash, it kind of, ruffles their feathers a little bit when they have to spend, because they're like, oh, that costs $20. Oh, that costs $30, and I don't want to spend my money. So now, I'm good. That's the mindset. That's the thought pattern I want them to have. Do I really need this thing? Because I just worked hard for this $20 bill. So do I really want to go and waste it on that little item, that I may or may not use? I may use once or twice and, put it away and never see it again. So I want them to be able to think through their purchases and make decisions as it relate to purchasing items that are going to be useful and beneficial to where they are in life currently. Okay? And the fourth one is, if you can't afford it with cash, then don't buy it, which is still kind of ties in the first 3 items. If you do not have cash, the green stuff, don't buy it. Point blank, that's the way it is. If you do not have money, do not buy the item. Just let that sink in. If you don't have the cash, don't buy it. Guess what that also means? You can't afford it. And see, that's another thing that society don't really want to teach us. You cannot afford it. If you don't have the money, you cannot afford it. Having credit, taking out loans, all that stuff, that equates to not having the cash. Therefore, you cannot afford to buy it. You're using someone else's money to purchase that item. It's not your money, so you can't afford it. Don't buy it. Okay. And the fifth thing we also hit on was save 20% of your income. So that is basically it for the items that I have, the financial topics that I have talked to my children about thus far. We continue to talk about things like student loans and getting into other forms of debt, mortgages, retirement plans. We've talked about all of it, but I think right now where teenagers are at this stage of the game, they don't need to really go into detail about those other topics. But these are some topics here, as they start to get their first jobs and they start to think about what they need to do to handle money and be able to manage their money and not allow their money to manage them. I think basically some of your basics, such as starting a budget, operating on a budget, don't be spending above your means, pay cash for everything, don't get a credit card. Those are the things they need to understand. Also, the last thing that I want to touch on is bank accounts. Now, all three of my children have bank accounts, and they know how to operate their bank accounts, meaning they know how to go to the bank, they know how to withdraw money, they know how to deposit money, they know how to ask the teller for money, they know how to read their receipt or their ledger once they have withdrawn money from the bank or deposited money to the bank. They also know how to ask the teller for that receipt and to make sure that their balance is included on that receipt. So these are things you need teenagers to start looking at right now as it relates to them getting their finances together. We need them aware at an early age because, as we all know, finances are not taught in schools. That's another video that I am going to make, and it's going to be a whole video in itself. But yeah, I think that is all I have for now, YouTube. And I just want to come out and speak to some of the teenagers right now and those that are, heading off to college, just to let you know how you need to start thinking as it relates to money and finances and budgeting, because you don't want to go into your adulthood in debt. You just don't, because if you don't have debt, then you can build wealth. And if you can build wealth, then you can become wealthy and sustain yourself independently at an early age. And what does that mean? That means that you don't have to work as long. So let's say you get out of college at 21, 22, you hit the ground running, you're working, you're stocking away money, you've learned a little bit about investments and all that kind of thing, you start putting away money. Let's say around 40, 45, you should be retiring. That is the way I would love for my children to go, and I'm teaching them in that fashion. And the primary thing is to not get into debt. So that is all I have for now, my YouTube family. Remember, around here we dream big, but start small. And I will love for you to subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment and let me know what you're teaching your teenagers and how they're handling their money. And I would also love for you to like this video. And that is all I have for now. Peace